We are going to work today on low back stiffness that comes with traveling. Whether it's in a car, or whether it's on a plane, or whether it's backpacking. So you arrive at your destination, and what do? That's what we're going to do today. Is kind of create this sort of flowing, low back care that uses minimal equipment, so it's super portable. So you're going to start on your mat, You're going to go down. So you have arrived wherever you are going. You are now here. But sometimes the journey can be a little strenuous. You just take a second to stretch out. Get on down. So for a lot of people, lying on their back on the floor is not comfortable because it hurts their low back. They'll feel a lot of compression just by doing this. So put your hands on your stomach and then move them up to your rib cage. And think about dropping your rib cage down, right? So instead of, having this tense rib cage that tends to hold up in the air, imagine a weight settling it down to the ground, which might make your head pop up. And if it does, you can think about, maybe put one hand behind your neck. Think about the back of the neck getting long and letting that drop down to the ground too. So it's not easy to be on the ground. And we'll start with something small, which is your hips rotating right to left. So you're just doing a little bit of a pelvic wiggle here, side to side, which is moving your low back a little bit. Another way to do it is if you think of squeezing just your right butt cheek, that will lift that right hip up, and then you can relax it, and then you can squeeze your left butt cheek, and that will lift the left side of your pelvis up. And then you can relax it, and you're just doing this again. Right butt cheek, left butt cheek, right butt cheek, left butt cheek. I'm going to stop saying butt cheek, but it's this idea of I can twist. And then I'm going to have you bend your knees. And you're going to put your hands on the front of your pelvis, and you're going to tilt it. You're going to tuck it back, and then you're going to untuck it or tuck it forward, tilt it forward. So you're tilting back, you're tilting forward. You are, again, moving your low back. And you can go slow, or you can go a little bit more quickly if you'd like. When you go backwards, see if you can press the lower back into the ground. Can you get that much tilt? And then you could do the opposite. Let it go, lift away from the ground, where you could drive a small matchbox car underneath your lower back. And then you can bring it in again, and then you can let it out. All right. Someone is excited over there. All right, and then you can go ahead and bring both knees into the chest. That should bring your lower back to the floor for sure. Just your pelvis naturally tilting backwards. And you can rock to the right and to the left. Because your low back is tilted, when you go to the right and left, the ground can massage into the lower back a little bit. I actually like to do this when I'm camping. If the ground is really lumpy, I just think of it as like a short massage session. Right. And just roll your body to the right just a little bit, and let the weight of your body being slightly tilted to the right press more into the right lower back. Yeah? Can you feel it there? When your pelvis is to the right, see if you can sit up and curl yourself in a little ball to the right. That will increase the pressure. And then you come on down, and then roll the other side. Just let the left side of the body press into the ground. You can curl up a little bit. How's that? And then relax back down. I'm not going to keep asking you questions. What do you think about this one? It's like the eye doctor. What's better, this one or this one? This one or this one? This one? All right. Now, put your hands down on the floor. Let your feet, just your toes, drop to the ground, and then bring your knees back up. So we're going to keep moving our lower back, but now it's a little bit more weighted, right? So you are going to use a little bit more abdominal muscle here because you're not just moving your pelvis back and forth, you're moving your pelvis and your legs. Your legs are heavy. So it's like still moving the lower back, getting it out of the stiff position it's been for however long it took you to get here. Maybe not today, but the metaphorical here.
Should we still be trying to keep our ribs?
Always, yes. So yes, dropping your pelvis, like untucking and tucking, doesn't have to go with rib lifting and dropping, right? That's a completely separate motion. So the ribs are anchored. You have a big sandbag on your ribs, and you're just moving the pelvis and the legs down to and from the ground. It's an abdominal exercise. You're also having to maintain the position of your hips. So there's a lot of hip work that goes into it as well. So you can set both feet down on the ground, put the soles of the feet together, and let the knees drop out to the side. So a little bit of a stretch of the inner thigh here. And then the first move that we did where we were rocking our pelvis right to left, you can do that right now while your knees are dropped open. What would happen if you put a sandbag on each knee? Would it help you out? Would it make you yell? Maybe a little both. Yeah, think about traveling. Like your legs are usually always in front of you. They might not be, if you're on a plane or a car or motorized, they're just going to sit in front of you. But even if you're hiking or cycling to get where you're going, it's still a lot of right in front of you, right? Even if they're moving, they're right in front of you. So to take things out in a way, what you do is you take some tension off of the pelvis and the lower back. The SI joint specifically is, within the pelvis. Okay, and then we're going to do the opposite. So to do the opposite hip motion, bring your knees in, walk your feet out. Try to even go off the mat a little bit if you can, and then let your knees drop in towards each other. Some people have more of a challenge with one versus the other. Sometimes going externally is challenging. Sometimes going internally is challenging. Sometimes going both. Sometimes one leg has a preference for one versus the other. So the fact that the two knees are coming together really keeps you from getting too deep into this one, which is nice. It's nice to start here. But if you bend your right, how do I want to say this? Straighten your right knee up so it's going straight up towards the ceiling, and then continue to walk the left foot out to the side like you're just going to drop your left knee to the ground. There you go. A little bit more internal rotation on this side. I said I wasn't going to say butt cheek again, but I feel like it's relevant. Right? Sometimes you can feel a hip stretch on that left side. And it can be up in the glutes. Now, if this is too much on your knee, which it can totally be, you don't have to have a long static hold. You could lift and let it come back down. So you have a little bit more control over it. You're never just letting it hang. But you are getting sort of the stuff that runs down that lateral side of the hip. Want to see how the other side's doing? Or you want to stick with this one just a little bit longer? Once you've moved it around a little longer, okay, fine. Once you've moved it around a little bit, then you can actually let it go back and do another settled hip and see if it will relax just a little bit more. I wonder what would happen if we did this for 47 minutes, just this. You would probably, your hip, you could go backwards. Ugh. Woohoo! That's a good one. I think I'm going to need to do the other side. All right, so grab your string. Ugh, bring that knee up. And before you do the other side, bring this knee in so it's straight, and then let it go all the way out towards the ground straight, and then bring it back in. So we're just sort of reintroducing it, being like, I'm sorry I took you off your forward and back path that you are so accustomed to. No hard feelings. All right. Okay, you put that foot down, and that foot's just going to stay more or less just down with the knee straight up, and then you're going to walk that right foot out to the right to let that right knee drop down towards the ground. This one feels tighter. And again, if the static holds aren't working for your knee, just lift and drop. And lifting and dropping is also real slow lifting and lowering is a better word, is a nice way to just gently encourage the hip to try something new. Is this your move? Like it? Yeah. Time is everything on these, because I feel like there's a big protective, like, no, don't do it. And then as you sort of like give into it a little bit, it's like, all right. And if you've lifted and lowered a few times and just, it's almost like brushing through your hair. You keep hitting these knots, and then you just pull your brush out and you go through it again, and you're just gently, you're not forcing anything, but somehow that brushing motion where you're just showing where you want to go, the motion can come over time. And I'm just going to let it hang out one more time. Oh, yeah. All right, and then you're going to lift that knee up. You can walk your feet in towards each other, and then we're just going to pull that right knee into the chest just to put it back on the straight and narrow, and then reach that right foot all the way long, and then bring it back in and reach it back out. And just, it knows this place more, but and then once you've done that a couple times and you're feeling good about it, bring both knees in. Then you're going to cross your ankles. And let's put your left ankle on top of your right ankle. Now, I'm going to show the full version of this, and then I'll show modifications. So if you can reach up and grab your feet. No laughing. You can reach up and grab your feet. Then you can, holding on to this top foot, pull it up and over the bottom knee. Try to keep your knees somewhat stacked on top of each other. If that doesn't want to go, then you can drop your right foot and then just cross the left ankle over to start getting into the hip. Either way, you're going to be in your piriformis. So you've got your feet, and then you're going to lift up the top one and bring it up and over the bottom leg. Yeah, and then squeeze the knees together. Squeeze the knees together, yeah. If you can lift your ankles a little bit, you could do that as well. And what we're working on is the left hip, yes? Okay, great.
Among other hips.
Yeah, and nothing else, right? Nothing else is resistant. And you're breathing. If you're tired of holding your feet, you can actually move to your shins if that gives you better control over playing. You can play with the position of the pelvis. You can play with the position of the ankles. You just have some options there. The idea is to kind of move around until you feel the outside of the left hip. And sometimes you have, this just isn't a tight area on you, in which case you're like, meh, this isn't my move. And that's fine. All right. Now, you're going to keep everything as is, but you're going to let go of the feet, and you're going to set this down to the ground. So your right foot's on the ground, and then just slide your legs apart a little bit until the left ankle is sitting right on top of the right knee. And then you are just going to rotate your hips. So you're going to turn, almost like you're doing a spinal twist. Rotate your hips to bring the sole of that left foot down to the floor. Yeah? So we've got this. We've got it crossed over. Now, what tends to happen when you're in this position is the knee, what do we used to call it? The knee tends to want to drop this way. This knee that's up in the air wants to drop towards you on the floor, and I want you to push that knee away from you. So if you look at your shin, ideally you want this vertical shin where the top of the knee is not closer to you than your foot is. So you're thinking of pushing that knee away. And again, we're in lateral hip, lateral waist. This is like a bigger than a joint move. Take a deep breath. Awesome. And then you're going to twist and bring everything back to where we began. And then bring both knees into your chest and let the ankles get back to their stacked position. The left one's probably still on top, and now you're going to switch. Right goes on top. And if you can grab your feet, do it. And then holding your feet, you're going to slide this leg up and over the bottom leg. And if you can't, you're just going to go back to this guy here, which is still going to get you into that piriformis. And you're just going to say hello to that hip for a little bit. Try to squeeze your knees together where there's really not any space there. To the best of your ability, you're going to get those to come in. And you can rock from right to left a little bit. Now, I know this is supposed to be a piriformis stretch, but I've got so much right hamstring, one of my hamstring, that's what I feel mostly. So it's mostly in the back of the thigh, so it can really be in a lot of different places. You can hold on to a different part of the shin. If it suits you, you can lift your legs a little bit. All right. And then you are going to put the sole of the left foot down and then just slide that right leg back a little bit. So you're just sitting with your right leg crossed over. And then you're just going to rotate the hips to bring the sole of that foot down to the ground. So nothing else is really changing. There's no sliding here. The knee isn't dropping away. It's just you taking your legs that were up to the air, but now moving them off to the left. And then just rotating your upper body back. Bring that right shoulder back down. If you want to hold onto the shin, you can with your left hand. Move your left hand down to grab that right ankle. That can be a good anchor. You can think of turning away. All right, and then you're going to bring that back up, and you can uncross. You can bring both knees into your chest for a second again, and then make your arms open wide into a T, right? So you've got a nice T here, and then you're going to drop both knees over to the left. No real form on this one yet. You're just trying to get your lower body to move in a different plane compared to your upper body. You are wanting, ideally, both of the shoulders to stay flat. Now the ribs will have a tendency to want to lift and come with the hips. So think about bringing the rib cage back to the ground. It's not going to get there, but that's a direction that you're pulling it, and that will move your waist and your lower back a little bit more. Can you let both knees rest on the ground? What happens if you do that? Does it pull the right shoulder completely off? Mm-hmm. So that's fine. You can actually start there with everything dropped down, and then with those anchored, you can even take your left hand and put it on top. You're just thinking about letting the right side of your body sort of sag towards the ground. No tension. Let gravity do the twist for you. All right, and then we're going to swap other side. So you'll bring both knees up. And if you want to massage right, left, little wiggle, that's fine. And then you're going to take everything over to the opposite side again. Keep your knees together and let it drop over. Chances are you go better in one direction than the other. And that left side just sort of sagging to the ground. All right, and then you come all the way back. And you put both feet on the floor. And then reach your hands down so that you can touch your heels, or as best you can. Like you're trying to use that as a spacing position aid. And then look up, make sure that your knees are not dropping away from each other, so keep them pointing up towards the ceiling. And then press through the soles of your feet, lifting your hips up. Right? So now your hips are up in the air, but not your ribs. So you're not really doing one of these, like pushing with the rib cage. That stays down. It's really just pushing with the soles of the feet. And then I want you to keep going. How high can you lift your body by pushing your feet into the ground without pushing the chest forward? So like you're not really working the back of your body. You're not working your spine. You're working your legs. All right, you can go ahead and set your hips down. Bring your knees in. Why don't you roll yourself up for a second? And then just do a forward bend this way. So we don't worry about the feet yet, and you can just let everything come forward. You're coming forward at the hips, and then you're sort of bringing your ribs down towards, not your thighs, but more towards your pelvis, and then let your head hang. All right, I think you need to go.
Oh.